We know that Ibrahim ruled from 1580 to 1627. Born in 1570, his uncle Ali the First was the previous Sultan. His aunt, the well-known Chand Bibi, supported him in the early years as Ibrahim was only 10 at the age of coming to power. His regent, who was Dilawar Khan, helped the dynasty consolidate itself by creating political alliances with the neighboring kingdoms of Ahmednagar and Golconda. Ibrahim II also kept the Mughals at bay by bribing them at the start with jewels, gold, elephants, and other such expensive gifts. In 1590, Akbar, who was by far the most expansionist of all the Mughal emperors, looked to the Deccan to increase his territory. By 1603 to 1606, there were multiple ambassadors and envoys sent to the Deccan to extract gifts and the hope that the Adil Shahis would plead fealty to the Mughal crown. But it was not successful. Eventually, with the arrival of Jahangir as the new emperor, Mughal action intensified. Jahangir and his courtiers had also acknowledged Ibrahim II as a Drupadiya par excellence and as someone who had made changes to the traditional Drupad form. Today we know the structure of the Drupad to consist of Sthai, Antara, Abhog and Sanchari. The Bijapuri style maintained three, Sthai, Antara and Abhog, while the more contemporary Khayal form retains till this date two aspects of Sthai and Antara. Jahangir says it was a completely new form which was Ibrahim's own invention. This was perhaps a hint that it was already different from the forms that they were used to hearing at the Mughal court. What we also know of Ibrahim II and music is that during one of the visits of Asad Beg to the court of Bijapur, while the Mughal envoy was leaving, there was a grand concert that played out that day, in which Asad Beg finds Ibrahim II completely in the raptures of music, and the conversations revolved only around music and musicians. Here's what Asad Beg writes. Ibrahim inquired about Akbar's fondness of music and was told that he listened to it sometimes. He then inquires whether Tansen stood or sat while singing before the emperor. And he was told that at daytime, Tansen had to stand while singing, and at night or festive occasions, the musicians were allowed to take their seats. Ibrahim proceeds to state that music should be heard at all times and musicians should be kept happy and content. That change of musculature of the body standing and performing a rag can definitely have greater implications for when the body is sitting down and rendering a performance. Both for instrumentalists and for vocalists, it can be said to have varying consequences. But aside from this, there's also plenty of support to support that Ibrahim II extended to his people of non-Islamic denomination. He supported the right of pilgrims to perform rituals to the deity Khande Rao at Naldurg. He provided endowments for the upkeep of a temple at Chinswad near Pune. He was tolerant of Shias, and Christians benefited too, as the Portuguese Jesuits have remarked on his openness to meet them and allow them to establish missionary churches in various parts of his kingdom. Bijapuri painting was a curious mix of Turkish, Persian and Hindustani styles. The colors used included a high amount of blue and gold, which come from the mineral lapis lazuli and the material gold. The style of portraiture was different. Bright orange, moss green, brownish red, and royal blue were some of the colors we see. Bijapuri miniature painting is where we see the first visualization of the rags, as recent years in scholastic studies by Catherine Butler Brown have shown that the first extant pieces of Ragmala paintings are from the Deccan, and especially from the court of Ali the First Adil Shah, the predecessor of Ibrahim II. A recent study reveals that even as early as the 1660s, Mughal musicians and theoreticians could not understand the distinction between the theoretical aspects of the rag in the visualized and the performances, which is to acknowledge and say that Raga musicology and Ragmala paintings have constituted separate material traditions. In this regard, the Jawahir, based on the work of Sharangdeva's Sangeet Ratnakar, is important to Indian music history because of its systematic integration of Islamic scientific ideas about the power of sound and its effect in human affairs. Despite it not being made during the time of Ibrahim Adil Shah II, it is important to cite this work as its context within Indian musicology has several ramifications for both Nauras and future Mughal treatises produced a century later, and also for the future work in later centuries. It is also a turning point because it provides an explanation as to why the visual and the sound don't have to complement each other. The painted images of yoginis in Bijapur functioned as a creation of a new archetype, a creation of the Hindu ascetic to symbolize the Sufic lover in search of the beloved. The yoginis thus become the lover and the beloved, as figures who have given up their place in society to follow the spiritual path. They represent the lover. We know that the feminization of Sufism in India happens particularly in Gujarat and Bijapur. The yogini archetype undergoes several transformations from wandering mendicants to musicians as well. While images produced in his court and in his time do give a descriptive face of his, they express it through the poetic ideals developing in his court. Depictions of Ibrahim probably allude to meaning rather than relying on realism to depict him. Rather than portraying him in a recorded historical event of a specific identifiable place, the portraits place him in generalized or abstract settings and then add details such as rudrakshas, beads, castanets, lavish robes to relay Ibrahim's identity, stature and personality.
इथे त्याचं एक काव्य असं आहे की ज्याच्यामध्ये त्यांनी एका वास्तुशिल्पाचं वर्णन केलेलं आहे. बुलंद महल सप्त खन सप्त दिन की मूरत सोपान कीनी घडियाल की उधम कर. तर ही इमेज जी घडियालची वापरली आहे त्याने, तर ती पण मला फारच वेगळी वाटली. आणि खरं तसं वाटलं की हा माणूस आपल्याला जे वाटतं ते सांगायला मुळीच डरत नाही, सांगून टाकतो. ती इमेज मला सुचली, याची त्याला एक खात्री वाटते. मग तो राजा असल्यामुळे असेल किंवा तो एक माणूस असल्यामुळेच असेल, अशीही शक्यता जास्त वाटते मला. तर बुलंद महल हे मी ध्रुपदांगानी ताल रूपक घेऊन बसवलेलं आहे.
historians believe that Ibrahim was merely trying to introduce Indian aesthetics to the Persians. That cannot be an absolute and only reason, since we are aware that even as early as 1550s, the Adil Shahi Sultanate was well versed with the cosmologies of the area they inhabited. So that meant a new beginning was being infused into this concept of the rasas. We also know that several copies of the book exist, all with no real first edition seal on them, making the exact dating almost impossible to know. The Kitab-e-Nauruz thus becomes the microcosm of the Deccan. Set to classical rags, rumors abound of the tals they were composed in. Within it, there are layers of paeans dedicated to Saraswati, Ganesh, along with the Sufi Banda Nawaz Yesudaras. There are also fleeting references to angels from the Islamic, like Israfel, and to the Kailash mountains of the Indic. Further metaphors based in nature draw parallels with the human body, and one gets the feel of the synesthesia-based experience that the text aims to induce. The physicality of animals such as elephants and the musical instruments like Moti Khan are utilized as expressions of separation from the other. The songs dedicated to architecture and painting set the base for the exploration of certain compositions through their sensual depiction of the rags that they are set in. The experience of listening to the Kitab-e-Nauruz is that of transgressions and the composite, wherein the ruler has condemned himself and the listener of the compositions to the plane of both the tangible and the metaphysical. Therein blooms the concept of Nauruz, which, like wine, is meant to be consumed for the beauty while understanding the materiality of its constituents. Most importantly, the Kitab-e-Nauruz was set in the language of Dakhni and not in Persian. Nauruz thus held an equal footing within the Indian and the Persian context, never going towards a particular point, but rather floating around in an axis.
ह्या माणसाची जी इमेजरी आहे ती काय विलक्षणच आहे बघा. सगळं जग म्हणजे एखाद्या चतुर चित्रकारांनी रंगवलेलं आहे. त्याच्यामध्ये आकाश हा कागद आहे आणि सूर्य, चंद्र आणि तारे हे त्याचे मोहरे आहेत. सूर कनक जल घोल सवारे परचित किये, या सगळ्याचा तुम्ही परिचय करून घ्या. लेखनी लेखन हारे आणि मग लिहा. टुमके धरे झुमके सारे सितारे धन्य वो उन्हार जिओ मुलके जहारे. ज्यांनी हे बनवलं तो खरंच धन्य आहे. या माणसाला ईश्वर सुद्धा त्याच्या सुंदर रूपात दिसतो आणि हा सुफी संस्कार आहे असं आमच्या घराण्याच्या बंदिशींमध्ये देखील अल्लाह हा बगीचा त्यांनी एक जगाचा मांडलेला आहे. त्यात लहान मोठी फुलं आहेत, फार सुंदर असं त्यांनी मनापासून रंगवलेलं असा आणि बनवलेला असा हा बगीचा आहे. असा जो एक सुफी भाव आहे तसा भाव यांनी आपल्या कल्पनेनी मांडला आहे. हे सगळ्यात महत्त्वाचं. गगन का गज सोम मोहरादी तारे हे मी राग देस मध्ये बसवलेलं आहे. चतुर चिता
We also know for certain that the construction began around 1599, and before its sacking in 1624, new structures were still being built. One account of Nauraspur comes from Cornelius Heda, a Dutch painter living in the Deccan at the time of Ibrahim II. He mentions the completion of a painting of Venus, Bacchus, and Cupid, and says how intently Ibrahim II stared at it for hours. This palace, known as the Nauras Mahal or at Nauraspur, was meant for the celebration of all that was associated with Nauras, that is, the 9 flavors or moods. And encompassed in these 9 flavors were the moods evoked by hearing music and poetry, and by viewing painted images, as well as wine made from 9 juices. Ibrahim even invented a new holiday associated with the celebration of the culture of Nauras, which entails day-long festivities featuring music and recitations of poetry and stories. We must look at these buildings from the micro-architectural perspective. By micro-architecture, one means small models of large buildings. There is a great iconographic significance and also a creation of a symbol in its representation. Simple changes in scale can bring about a view of complete walled cities or palace complexes. The miniature, after all, is able to evoke more delight and pleasure, for the small can be appended even in the most minute of ornamentations in these forms. So the term Nauras can now be seen as an understanding of the sculptural entering the architecture of Islamic structures. The Adil Shahis gave up the stucco and plaster forms of earlier structures by embracing the material of stone. This form of represented architecture might show us that the person's way of seeing and knowing his or her practice. We can only speculate about the training of these craftsmen or how their transmission of design took place, but we can say it allowed the craftsmen to produce designing key architectural types. By mid-1590s, a new style emerged in which individual motifs were carried over from the architecture of the Bahmani dynasty. Other elements like chhajjas and brackets supporting them are derived from local Hindu temple architecture. The distinctive flat stone slab ceiling found at the Ibrahim Rauza came from the Hindu temple design. The arrival of the lotus in its architecture was intimately connected to the Adil Shahi ideas about kingship, which themselves drew upon a large number of traditions. The dome and the lotus petal motif would have been particularly potent, as the dome, symbolic of both the heavens and God granted power was connected to kingship in Islamic culture. We must understand that there wasn't anything conflicting with each other's identity, but rather there was a great complementary aspect to this form of drawing from various traditions.
हा एक ध्यास इब्राहिमच्या मनाला सतत लागलेला आहे. ही एक अशी त्याची बंदिश आहे. मेरा प्यू ढूंढू रे. गंमत असते की आपल्याला काहीतरी मिळालेलं असतं आणि तरी आपण त्याच्या पलीकडे जाण्यासाठी काहीतरी शोधत असतो. हा शोध आपल्याला संत मीराबाईमध्ये मिळतो. कृष्ण तर तिला मिळतच नाही, पण तिचा शोध संपत नाही आणि त्या शोधातच ती आनंद मानायला लागते. इब्राहिमचं असंच काहीतरी आहे. त्याला ते शोधत राहणं हे आवडतं. ही जी बंदिश आहे ती मी यमन कल्याणात बसवलेली आहे.